Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Now I have heard from so many of you that you want me to talk about the Netflix movie that just came out called To the Bone. If you don't know what it is and you are someone who has recovered from an eating disorder, it might not be the best thing to watch, but today let's talk about it. As a licensed therapist and an eating disorder specialist, I have to be honest that I liked the film because it was so true and very realistic. I worked in hospital settings that look very similar to the one she left at the beginning of the film. And the one in the home is the types of treatment centers that I spent the most time in. Not to mention all the different behaviors they showed the girls doing, the baggy clothes, the smoking of cigarettes, the resistance and fight against therapists. All of that was so familiar to me, and I really feel like it was truthfully represented. When I first sat down to watch To the Bone, I was hopeful that they would showcase all different types of eating disorders. It was very clear from the beginning that our main character was going to struggle with anorexia. Ellen, or Eli that you follow, that is what her diagnosis is. However, when she gets to the treatment center, I liked that they had all different types represented, and even a male was in the treatment center, which no one ever talks about, and it's just as common. And I think it's important for us to remember that eating disorders don't care what shape or size or gender we are. Everyone can struggle, and I really liked that they showed that. Another thing that I kind of both loved and hated about the film was the resistance that we got from Ellen. The main character can be so aggressive and so frustrating and push back against everyone who's trying to help her. And the reason I loved and hated it, I loved it because it's very true. It's very realistic. I still deal with that in my private practice with my eating disorder patients. But then I hated it because it's also really hard to deal with and something that as a therapist, we're always trying to find other tricky ways to get in so that you'll finally accept us and accept the help we're trying to give you. The next thing that I really liked is the fact that they showcased how competitive eating disorders can be. Whether it was Megan, the girl who was pregnant, saying to Ellen when she first got to the treatment center, well, how many times have you been inpatient? And of course she had to one-up her. And then the looks around the table when they were doing that and looking at each other's food and comparing. I appreciated how they showed true to form what eating disorders can feel and look like. I also like that they showed a family session. Not all films about eating disorders show what treatment can look like and have it be true to form. The aggression from the stepmother and her real mother, and not to mention the anger that we saw from her sister. It's all very true and something that I've dealt with my clients for years, and I just really like that they took the time to really show it, and then also show the fallout for Ellen, the struggle afterwards to deal with a difficult session like that and keep moving forward in her recovery. Another thing I loved about this film is when her mom comes to the tent where she's staying and wants to feed her a bottle and cries, saying that she accepts that maybe Ellen does want to die and she's okay with that, she accepts it. And I think that this whole conversation shows not only how hard it can be for parents, but also that there is a component of needing to heal past wounds and the remothering that her mom was trying to do by feeding her that bottle and just wanting to hold her daughter. It made me tear up because it's such a component to eating disorder recovery, not for everyone. Obviously, everyone's experience is different, but with regard to this person that we're following, Ellen, it was such a powerful moment, and I like that they gave it the time that it needed so that we could really feel for not only her mom, but Ellen, who's really struggling. The last thing I loved about this film was how no nonsense, no bullshit the doctor was. Keanu Reeves' character, I liked that he didn't put up with any of their shit and he called them on it. And he was caring and loving, but also hard. And that's definitely the way that I personally practice therapy, because I think we can only get so far being extremely soft. At one point, we're gonna have to draw the line in the sand and say, hey, you have to decide that you want to get better and that life is worth living, and I can't do that for you. And I appreciated that they showed how that actually can work. I know they said it was, a very different style, but I truly believe that that is the way that therapy needs to be done for many people. Now on to my dislikes, and there were only actually two in this film. The first being, I didn't like that they made Ellen, or Eli, and Luke romantic. I didn't think that was necessary. In order to keep us focused on the treatment and the various types of eating disorders and how hard it can be for people, I just thought that that wasn't necessary at all, and I really didn't like it. And my second and final but largest gripe about this film is, why in the world would you, being Netflix, create a film about eating disorders, cast the lead actress Lily Collins, who already had an eating disorder that you know about, and then have her lose weight for the role? That's extremely irresponsible, not to mention so incredibly dangerous. We all know that eating disorders are sneaky motherfuckers, and they will try to find their way in one way or another. And how are they to know that they didn't cause a relapse? Would you have a recovering heroin addict just do it just once for a role? Or someone who's recovering from alcoholism just do a couple shots, just of tequila, just to make it really authentic? They should be ashamed of themselves. I could never get over that. That was so upsetting to me that they would do that, especially because the director herself also struggled with an eating disorder. We know eating disorders come in all shapes and sizes, so why did you have to make her lose weight? I'd like to know that. And I know articles now are saying, oh, she's working with a dietitian to gain the weight back healthfully. I'm not worried about the food. I'm worried about what that could have done to her mentally. I don't know if it could have caused a relapse. I hope not, but I think even this action, the fact that was part of her role, I think was horribly irresponsible, and I'm extremely disappointed. And the last thing I want to mention is I truly loved that this story wasn't tied up in a pretty little bow. We never really understood what the main reason or cause of her eating disorder was. And I actually liked that because she was on this path of personal understanding. And they leave us at the end of her just returning to the treatment center. We don't know if she got better, but it leaves us with this sense of hope. This hope for more, this hope for a happy, healthy life. And I really like the fact that they just kind of let that hang and let that sit with us as the credits rolled. It really felt authentic and true. And I'll just end by saying that, yeah, the movie might be triggering. If you're in recovery, I wouldn't recommend it, but I do think it's a great film. It showcases a true story about an eating disorder, and I honestly think it does a really good job. So if you're interested, I would check it out. If you're new to my channel, click here to subscribe. And if you want more information about eating disorders, because like I said, I specialize in its treatment and I've done a ton of videos, you want to click over there and check them out, and I will see you next time. Bye.